Hello, everybody. My name is Cassidy Conley, and I'm here with Naomi Richardson and Lauren Godwin. I hope I said that right. Right? Okay, cool. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about what they do and how they impact their community. So, when you guys want to introduce yourself, feel free. Go ahead.
I can start if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, my name is Naomi Richardson. Currently, I live in Detroit. I'm 20 years old. Right now, I'm a program instructor at Bennett Elementary. I graduated classes 2020, and I've been taking 2 gap years. I'm going to Wayne State this fall for accounting and a minor in film. And I am publishing my first poetry book called Hold Me Until I Stop Overthinking. So, yeah, that's about it.
It's really nice.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Godwin. I'm a recent graduate of Spelman College, graduated in May of this year with a degree in economics and a minor in mathematics. I currently work as a coordinator of audience and culture marketing at SiriusXM in Pandora, where I conduct research really on different cultures and marginalized communities so that people can better understand them.
Wow, I love that. You guys have some nice things you're doing for us, and I appreciate you taking your time out to talk with me and to talk for this organization, the Power of Girlhood, which is a very impactful organization that I found myself, being a part of through Miss Brahinda. So thank you for just being a part of this interview with us. I wanted to touch on that poetry book. Poetry is a healing, coping mechanism, and I really, really love that you are doing that. I wanted you to talk a little more about that.
Yeah, so I always loved writing. I know my major is in accounting, but my dream is to be a poet and a film director. And Hold Me Until I Stop Overthinking is basically um the way that my way of advocating for young Black girls that look like me, because I am actually diagnosed with anxiety, and the world doesn't like to um help women of color, especially with mental illness or mental health issues at all. And that's something that's really big to me. All of my projects the next couple of years, if I get the chance to publish my poetry book, is basically someone told me when they were asking about my poetry book, they said it's like a love letter to Black girls. So my that's how I like to say my poetry book is about. It's really important to me. It's literally like my baby. So yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted, didn't even know. But I definitely see how it can feel that way. I believe that's a good thing you're doing. I'm sorry,
Thank
but
you.
yeah, it's very impactful for especially younger girls of color. We need that. I know I do, so I appreciate that. All right, so any one of you guys can answer this question, but what got you into your occupation? What led you?
I guess I can answer this one first. I actually went into college not knowing what I wanted to do at all. But through college, I really got a chance to dive deeper into like my true passions, like music and calculations and math and things like that. And I did a lot of research, but the research that I was actually doing in college didn't necessarily intrigue me to the point where I needed to, like, for it to actually be fulfilling. So I started looking for jobs in the music industry. Um, and like, in the music industry, you can do anything. You can sing, you can manage, you can get artists. But I found this marketing role actually through a program for HBCUs with SiriusXM and Pandora. And then my background, and it is like the best of both worlds for me. I get to work in music, but I also get to help marginalized communities, and I get to help minorities really be seen and heard in the music industry. So that's how I got my occupation.
Nice.
That's literally so wonderful. I love that.
Isn't it? It is. And I love music and the arts of so many different things. So again, what you're doing as well is very beautiful. I appreciate that. All right. You want to answer?
So I got into, I would say, my occupation or what I want to do when I'm older, which is film directing. I love movies, I love film, and I love writing. And one of the things that really inspired me is the idea that Hollywood um, desensitizes the Black audience and profits off of Black trauma. So the reason that I got into film is because I want to be able to create film for kids of color, specifically for Black girls and boys, that center and change the direction from just Black trauma to coming of age films that really show that we're not all just that Black people in general, like the movies that we see aren't just going to be about stereotypes and trauma. So that's something that's really important to me is centering it towards something that's better than just trauma and stereotypes. And yeah, it's really important to me. So yeah.
Yeah, it is very important. I want to know, how do you feel that your work impacts the community, or your target community, or whoever you feel is affected by your work? How exactly are they affected?
I would say like a month ago, I started posting my poetry on TikTok. It's a really big platform, and I didn't think I would get any like views or anything like that. But every time I have around like 50,000 likes, which I'm really grateful for. And every time I post, multiple girls will comment and message me on Instagram and be like, this literally, like, they'll tell me how the poetry that I make affects them in such a good way. And they're like, you literally read my mind. This is exactly how I feel. And they're always telling me, and I'll go on live sometimes, and they're always telling me like, this is literally like my safe place, and that's exactly what I want to bring. So yeah, I feel like that's one of the ways that I'm slowly, little by little, impacting my target audience.
Lovely. And you?
Yeah, okay, that's amazing. First off, that you're able to impact in such a direct way. I wish I could do that through the work that I'm doing. But when it comes to research, whether it's the research that I did in college or the research that I'm doing right now in my job, I don't know if you've heard the term like seat at the table, or how Black women or Black people or even like minorities don't have a seat at the table in a lot of these big rooms where, our voices need to be heard. We're the people influencing culture. We're the people influencing what everybody else is doing, but nobody wants our opinions or our insights. I think that the way that I really impact the community through what I do is I'm able to be that voice, not only through like my own experiences, but through other people's experiences. I feel like I really am like company facing. So I talk a lot to companies and to like those white men with power about things that are actually important to the Black community, about things that are important to the Hispanic community, to the LGBTQIA plus community. I'm able to really bring forth like those important issues and topics and like nuances in our cultures and in our lives that people wouldn't know about if they just looked on Google or if they just made assumptions based off of like stereotypes. So I'm really grateful to be able to do that, to really bring truth to who like we are as people, rather than being like that one group that they just group together and place stereotypes on.
That's really nice. Researchers, we need more of them. They do the heavy lifting, the hard work. They're always behind the scenes, but well, not always, sometimes. But they do majority of the work, and we appreciate that. Who inspired you to find your interest, your passion, occupation, whatever you want to call it?
I can go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say like the job that I'm in now is definitely not my end goal. I do want to continue like making way for Black men, especially like that, being that person, being that voice. But I want to do so much bigger and so much better. I don't think that there's anyone like in my role or that does what I want to do that inspired me. But my parents really inspired me. Because they like do work these 9-to-5 jobs or regular day-to-day jobs that are just jobs, that aren't careers, that are passion filled. So it really inspires me that they have that that determination to truly like work and provide and do what they need to do and sacrifice what they need to sacrifice and like their passions and their interests for their family. And it really inspires me and drives me to do even more and do even greater so that they can stop working and I can provide for them.
That's nice. It's very important that I like how you said that this is your end goal, and it's really nice. I like that you said that because many people think what they're in they have to stay in like forever, and whoever thinks otherwise they're almost crazy or
right.
but I appreciate you saying this and saying this live so people can hear like you don't have to stay in one occupation. You can do one thing that impacts other and then do another thing in the future, and it can be totally different, it can be similar as long as it's what you want.
Right.
Thank you.
So I would say the people who inspired me the most was probably my older sister and my dad. I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters. So yeah, so our family is really huge, and my dad uh, always did the best he can with making sure that we learned the history of our culture and African American history, whether that was watching documentaries or listening to lectures at a very young age. And he always told me that he always understood that I wanted to be a film director, and he didn't want me to do anything else besides that. So that's something that I really appreciate. My older sister was literally like my second mom. So she was always there for me throughout every single thing. And to have her still be here with me like throughout all my journeys is something that really inspires me because I'm seeing her grow up and then she's seeing me grow up, and it's the most craziest thing ever, and I love it.
Yes, that's so important. I come from a big family too. Not that big. It's only 5 of us, but that's really important to have your siblings, your parents' support, and it does create a big impact on what you do and how well you do it. What would you say to your younger self? Like, yeah, what would you say to your younger self right now? Any advice?
I would tell her to not shy away from what she really wants to do. I think that growing up, I'm still growing up. Like talking like I'm not like talking like I'm an adult right now is actually really weird because I still feel like I'm 12. But growing growing up, I think that I was great at a lot of things, and I tried and like dibble dabbled in a lot of things, but it was always like this can make you money. Like you can't make a life like doing this and things like that. So I would stop doing things that, you know, I didn't think I could truly exceed in or have a ton of help in. But I would just tell myself to keep going. Whatever I was very interested in or very like passionate about, I wouldn't kill those passions. I wouldn't crush those passions. I would continue going and striving and being that creative person that I am.
I love that. I always think about that question because I'm always thinking about my younger self, especially my 10-year-old self, because she was just, I don't know. So the one thing that I would say to her now, because when I was younger, I used to be like, I wonder what I would be like when I'm 20. I'd probably be so beautiful, and I'd probably be so confident and like have like my own car and my own house, and like I'm a famous film director. And right now I'd be like, no, no, we're not that right now, which is okay. So I think the one thing that I would tell her is just to be patient and to realize that everything is going to be okay in the end. Because when I was 10, I was thinking at like 20, I was going to be like the most famous filmmaker in the world. And I'm now going to college and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But yeah, that's what I would tell my 10-year-old self, is that to be patient and that everything is going to be okay in the end.
That's very important to tell yourself, especially because when we're young, we dream so big and we think it's going to happen overnight. So it is important that we hear it from ourselves. Well, we can't really technically go back and talk to ourselves, but remember that we need to be patient because things take time. And that doesn't mean you're bad at anything. You know, you just need to take your time, take your own pace. So I really love the fact that you said that. And how did the pandemic impact your work?
I can start off if that's okay.
Yeah.
So in the pandemic, I was that was the year that I actually graduated high school, and in the midst of that, a lot of like the George Floyd protests were happening, um, and Black Lives Matter protests were happening, and it was just like, and I was still figuring out myself. So the one thing that impacted me most was me creating my own organization at that time. It's called Ice the Future. We haven't worked on it for a bit, but during that time, it was like it was a big moment for me, like coming together with people who looked like me and having peaceful protests in Metro Detroit and realizing that I was able to bring people who look like me and who are younger than me and give them a platform to speak up and protest in a peaceful way. So that's one of the most influential things that happened to me during the pandemic.
I love that.
The pandemic was very like identity shaping for me. I will say, I was a sophomore in college during the pandemic, so like I was literally at an HBCU, so I was literally having the time of my life. And then it got cut short. And I think like at the pandemic, of course, we were on lockdown. My campus closed, and I had to go home. So I was taking classes and like being in college virtually for about a year and a half. And that was very different for me. I think I lost like a big sense of self mentally. I was going through it and things like that. But on top of all of that, I think it gave me a bigger awareness for the world around me and for the people that I was actually like living in communities with, which kind of forced me to change my direction of work. At first, I just wanted to work for a business or work for a company, but I think that, like she said, all the things that happened in the Black community and to the Black community during the pandemic really forced me to want to make a change in the Black community with the things that I did. In the line of work that I'm in my occupation, of course, I just started my job maybe like a month ago, if that. But in the industry, it made people really care more about how they're talking to Black people, how they're depicting Black people, what they're doing, companies, anybody, music, anybody. So I think the pandemic really had an impact on my industry, but it also really had an impact on my personal goals for what I wanted my work to do in the community.
I like that. Yeah, it's very true. The pandemic did impact a lot, and I love how it positively impacted you guys. What is something that your generation or this generation is facing that you're solving through your work?
I'm trying to think. I'm thinking.
Oh, take your time. um,
I guess I can start. So I said that I do research for multicultural audiences, and I did just say I just started my job. So I have not done a ton of work in my field, but I will say that one of those audiences, like one of those marginalized groups that I do research on, is Gen Z. And I'm technically Gen Z at the lower end of it, like the older Gen Z, but I like really am able to be that voice in the office and on my team for Gen Z. And I think one thing that our generation is facing is that older people really have this like idea of Gen Z is in social, Gen Z likes labels, Gen Z does this, Gen Z does that, but like they don't really talk to Gen Z about what they want or who they are, rather than just placing these labels on us based off like how we depict ourselves in social media or even like in the media. So I think that's one thing that I'm doing for our generation is really like spilling the truth, like who we really are, we actually want, why we are the way we are, rather than just letting older people, define us for who they think that we are and who we should be.
that was great. I'm sorry, I didn't know whether you were going to finish or not. But yeah, I feel the same exact way, but mine is a little different. So the one thing that I feel is that I'm helping my target audience or this generation, little by little, is by letting them learn that like it's okay to exist. Because in this society, like as a Black woman and like even woman of color, like this society doesn't want us to exist. Like it gives us barriers, hardships, and then they're like, okay, we want you to go out there and see if you can beat the finish line. And then when we do, they're like, well, I kind of, we're gonna put a few more obstacles. And so just being able to teach this, I don't want to say teach this generation, but like give an example of just learning how to exist and be a human being in this world as a Black woman is something that I'm really proud. Like I've never thought I was going to be someone that someone looks up to, even if that's just like my poetry or my words. But that's really important, is just learning how to exist independently in a world that doesn't want you to exist.
Wow, that was really good. I like that. When you say in the world, wow, that just hit really deep. Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't have many questions left, but I want to thank you guys for this. Honestly, it opened my eyes to so much, and like what you guys are doing, and even inspiring me in what I want to do. So I'm just gonna ask you like one more question, and then we can pretty much end it. But what makes you most grateful, or I guess brings the most joy in your work?
I can start this one too. I think it's weird to talk about my job because I just started it. But so far, honestly, because I literally do my work every day, like I have to keep up on culture. I have to keep up on what's going on in the news, what's going on social media, what's going on TikTok. And it brings me so much joy to know that I'm not just going to the cubicle and typing in numbers every day. Like I'm actually living in the world, and like I'll go to a concert and I can use that as like I can use my concert experience as research in my job. So like being able to go out and live and that still count towards what I'm doing and make a difference in what I'm doing, it brings me a lot of joy for sure.
So I'm a program instructor at an elementary school. I've taught for, this will be my second year teaching, but I've taught sophomores and juniors, and now I'm teaching elementary students. And one of the things that I'm really grateful for is that, like, besides my poetry, is that I look forward to coming to work now. Like, I'm not bummed out that I have to go there. I'm excited to be able to um, make these kids happy. And then with my poetry, it's just that like this is my dream job, is to do poetry. So it's great that like even though it's something that I'm not doing full time, that I still get to like look forward to doing it and being like, this is what I wanted to do my whole entire life. So just making an impact is something that I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, and you both are making such a great impact on younger girls like me, and even men, women, older people. You're just impacting everybody with your work. So we really appreciate you, and we encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because I mean you're doing it for the greater good and for yourself. You're enjoying it. So I'm very proud of you guys. No, we just met, but I am so glad that we were able to talk and discuss this amazing stuff. You guys are just awesome. So thank you for your time. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
You
much.
were amazing.
it. Oh,
Yes,
stop.
you are. I love this.
No, no, I hope you get to keep stay in touch. And speaking of that, do you guys have any social media or anything that you want to put out here for people to support you, or get in contact with you for anything you're doing?
Because I know Miss TikTok. Go ahead.
I cannot hear you.
Oh, I was saying you can go ahead and shout out your TikTok.
Oh yeah. My TikTok page is HMUIS Overthinking. It stands for Hold Me Until I Stop Overthinking. So yeah, you guys can check me out on there. I post almost every single week. So yeah.
And then if you want, you guys can follow me on Instagram at It's Lauren BAI, and add me on LinkedIn for any like corporate questions or like job questions or anything like that. Just Lauren Godwin, my name.
Cool. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys enjoy your day. Keep changing the world with the things you're doing. And I hope to reach out, contact, and stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You.
All right.
It was so good to meet you.
You too.